All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Huddle, another edition of the streaming sports talk show on the KGUN 9 platforms. I'm Jason Barr, joined as always by Pat Parris, almost as always. Good afternoon, Pat. How are you?
Almost as always. Yeah, good, good. I got everything ready to set and ready to go.
All right, terrific. So we're going to talk about a few things today. Tom Brady, the Suns, and we've got Dixie Wooten coming on, the Sugar Schools head coach. Pat, let's start with Tom Brady. I was a little surprised by this news coming today. Sure enough, he signs this contract. After he gets done finishing playing football, he's going to sign for 10 years, $370 something million to be the number one color commentator on the Fox broadcasts. Pat, did this catch you at all by surprise? Have you been hearing that Tom Brady was going to become an announcer for one of the networks at all in recent weeks?
No, I completely by surprise. I'm wondering if this deal wasn't in the works way back, when he first retired and they got to him. They got this deal going. I'm not sure why they had to announce it now. It's very interesting because he's still going to quarterback the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he says he's got unfinished business. But a whopping 10-year, $375 million. So he's going to make $37.5 million a year. That's way more than he makes now as a quarterback. When you look at his yearly salary of about, I don't know, $11-12 million a year. So good for him.
Yeah, he's actually going to make more over that span than he did as a player for Tampa Bay and New England before that. And the other thing that's interesting is not every player who is retired has become a terrific announcer. We've kind of been spoiled a little bit in recent years with how good Troy Aikman is, how popular Tony Romo is, but not everybody has worked out so well. And Joe Montana probably tops on that list. So I think what happened is the money just got so big the last couple of months in this field that this all of a sudden became a post-NFL option to him, whereas this was just a few $billion a year to Tom Brady. I don't think that's enough. But when you're talking $37 million a year, I think all of a sudden this became a suitable option for him.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I look at the money that's being thrown out for the Troy Aikmans of the world, and this is quite very much in line with that for Tom Brady. Tom Brady brings so much instant credibility. And you know what? He's a pretty cerebral guy, Jason. He's going to be able to break down, not unlike a Tom Brady's going to be able to break, not unlike Troy Aikman was able to break it down and still was able to do it. So I think for Fox Sports, they must think they're going to have him for 10 years and it will help draw more people to the broadcast.
All right, we're going to put Suns on the back burner here and talk about that later in the program. But first, we're joined by Sugar Skulls head coach Dixie Wooten on In the Huddle. Pat and myself, of course, Pat from the broadcast, Dixie. Hey, congratulations. What a big win that was for you last week, this franchise finally beating the Arizona Rattlers.
Appreciate it. It was time, coming in 0-7 against those guys and being able to knock them off at home in front of our own crowd was a great time that Saturday night.
Dixie, apparently I'm having a little audio issues, but I'll ask you real quick. What did it take to get your guys to believe? Because they had to believe they could actually beat this team they'd never beaten before.
The crazy part about it, Pat, is these guys, they looked at the challenge and took it. The whole week, this probably was the best week of practice that we had all season. They got tired of hearing Rattlers undefeated, and somebody mentioned in some type of newspaper that we was their little brothers. So that kind of made my guys a little upset, and we came out and played 60 minutes of great football.
Yeah, tell me about, the situation last year as you kind of struggled a little bit, the quarterback position early in the year and until Demery Croft kind of got his feet underneath him. You had a little change there. But this year coming in with Daquan Neal, a proven QB, how much of a difference has that made to this team this year to have Daquan Neal at quarterback?
It's a big difference. When you got a guy that come in as the former MVP in 2019 that understand the game big time, and with his leadership is unreal. When you got people believing around you, it makes it easier to play for them. Our receivers, we got two guys that played 5 years in the indoor league, and our offensive line, we got a guy that played in the NFL 5 years, and our center played 2 years. So our offense has all the vets on it. So adding the coin to that made us that much dangerous.
You got to talk defense real quick for us, Dixie. It was a remake, a reboot in 2022. It's taken a little while, but they have been a real strong point the last couple of weeks for you.
Absolutely. One thing about it is we got our 8 starters, 7 as rookies. So now these guys starting to understand how to play the game, the speed of the game, and they're starting to understand how important stops are. Last week against the Rattlers, we was going back and forth, and then we made that stop, and I think that changed the game. We threw something different at Drew Powell. We went cover 8 where we dropped everybody in coverage. So when we made that stop, then we made another stop later on, and we made 4 big stops in the game, and that was the difference in winning that football game.
Dixie, I'm going to bring up one other player who's really been a big boost to you guys this year, Benjamin Jones on the kickoff returns. He is explosive. What did you see in him that led you to believe that he could provide this type of boost to you guys?
The crazy part about it is, but when we got Benjamin, he got cut from Quad Cities. So by bringing him over, we needed we needed 2 running backs, and we brought him in to Tucson. The first day, he ran routes like a receiver. He blocked like a running back. He run like a running back, and he was great for us. So we put him back at kickout return because at McNeese State, he ran a lot of kickouts back. Next thing you know, he leading the lead in kickoff returns.
He looks terrific. Talk about guys from McNeese State. These are the kind of guys that really are the guys that can elevate and become stars in this league. That you've got Western Michigan, you've got Eastern Michigan with your receivers. Those are the kind of players you have to find, aren't they?
Absolutely. You got to go get those guys that, got looked over by the NFL, but have NFL talent. And look at the receiver core. You got CT. CT had a little cup of coffee with the Houston Texans, but you see his skill set. He catches everything. He go up and high point everything, and he's physical. And Arthur, he's another guy that got cut by a team in the IFL that we saw his college film, and we brought him in, and it panned out for us. Now he's one of the top receivers in the league that's getting Canada looks. So it's panning out for us big time because of the fact that we bring in guys, we develop them, we coach them up. Coach Chen's doing a great job with the offense. Man, it's unreal around here, and it's getting better and better every week.
Dixie, I'm going to throw you for a little bit of a loop here. I wish there were more fans in the seats at the arena, and there is no more such thing, I believe, as the Arena Football League. Okay, right. Do you think it would help your league if the Indoor Football League became the Arena Football League? Because to you and me, it may not be that big a deal, but think about the average fan out there who doesn't really follow this that closely. And there's the cachet of not only is there the cachet of the Arena Football League, but also that more represents what your game is. The NFL plays indoors. You can play 100 yards indoors, but you play in an arena. Do you think it would make any difference if your league was called the Arena Football League instead of the Indoor Football League?
I think it should stay the Indoor Football League because of the fact that you think about the perks of the Arena Football League, but you got to think about the bad things too. It comes with a tough name of basically folding, suspending the league for years and stuff like that. So I think what happens is, we should keep the name Indoor Football, but we should make sure that, like for example, what we're doing for the championship game. Now the championship game is in Las Vegas, getting some national sponsorships so we can get national publicity. That's the big thing about it. I don't think it's the name. I just think, more people need to buy in and understand that it's a great game and it's here to stay. And if we treat it right, we can make it grow.
You brought up a good point. Indoor championship now going to be played in Las Vegas, and that does give a lot of credibility, I think, to the league. What does your team have to do to continue to play? You've won 3 in a row, to continue to play, to make your way to that championship game that you guys, you look like a championship team on Saturday night. Can you make it to the championship?
Yeah, we it's a long season. So the thing about it is we haven't even peaked yet. That's the fun part. And, we got to get better on defense, no doubt about it. When you give up a lot of points, we scored 74, but we gave up 60-something as well. So, we got to find those pieces that we need. I think as a coach, I think we are about 2 or 3 pieces away from being a dominant defense. So we got to make sure we fill those pieces in over the week. So now you're supposed to win the games that you're supposed to win. And by week 10, you're supposed to be going straight up. There's no losing after week 10 if you want to be a championship team. And I think, offensively we're great, but we need a few more pieces on defense to make this thing a realistic championship team.
From week to week, how much time do you spend game planning for the next game? And how much time do you have to plan looking at the other leagues, like the Canadian Football League and other leagues, to see who might be available for you to help your roster?
So game planning during the week, I start, like, we play Saturday night, I start Sunday morning around 7:00. So I go from 7 to maybe 3 or 4 o'clock that evening, off and on, eating lunch, of course, but we go over stuff like that. Then Monday through Thursday, what we do is we go through it 7 o'clock in the morning, go to about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, studying, getting game plans together. And then on Friday, I get away from the game period. I just go out there and play golf, watch Law and Order here and there, and then Saturday is game time. And then the other time, you take an hour and a half, 2 a day, really looking at other leagues, making sure that you're getting your guys' film out, but also if a guy get cut from Canada, you want to be the first coach that call him up and see, if he still want to play football or not.
We've got a viewer question, and it really is what's on your radar to improve the defense. And maybe that's what you're talking about, is you've got to just kind of keep an eye out.
So to answer that question, a great question. To answer that question is, our defensive line is playing fantastic. Our linebackers as well. So we got to sew up the secondary. That's the elephant in the room, and we all know it across the globe. We have gave up a lot of touchdowns. So the good thing about it is we done bought Mike Mentor in. If we look at it, the first time we played Duke City, we gave Dello Davis 150 yards with 4 touchdowns. Then when they came back here and we put Mike Mentor on him, he caught 3 passes for 1 touchdown. So adding Mike to the table is huge for us. Also, Robert Rowe is coming back this week. He played for the Miami Dolphins. He had a little knee problem, but now he's fully covered, 100% coming back. So now, we want to make sure that we develop those other young guys. But we got a lot of guys, the guys that thought they was going into the draft, they didn't get drafted or anything like that. So I got a few guys under the radar from there. So we gotta solidify the secondary. That's first and foremost, to be a number 1 defense.
All right, Dixie, last one for me. How do you avoid a letdown now? You were 1-3 to start the season. It looked like you might have another, a rough season, not making the playoffs. You've run off 3 in a row. You beat the Rattlers, arguably the best win in the short franchise history. How do you keep it going and avoid a letdown going into this week?
Practice, man. One thing about early in the season, realistically, we're supposed to be 5-1. I think we let it one down, let go in Texas. We played Frisco, but every other game we lost at the last. We blew a lead in the 4th quarter. So one thing that we doing now, every last drive of practice is a game situation. And now that helped us big time. We played against the Rattlers. They onside kick, we recovered it, and we drove it in and scored a touchdown. Then they came back and scored. Then they onside kick, we recovered it again, and then we kicked the field goal to basically seal the game. So that's what we're doing at practice to make sure that we're ready for the 4th quarter. We're going a lot of drives that we'll do in the game. That's what we're doing at practice, and it seemed like it worked for us against the Rattlers.
One more for me, Dixie, real quick. You've got Kathy and Kevin Guy that own the Sugar Skulls. You've got Kevin Guy as the head coach and general manager of the Rattlers. And I know you guys talk a lot. What was his reaction to you after you guys beat them on Saturday night?
He know at the end of the day, me as a coach, I want to bring a tough product in on the field. And, he just talked after the game, coaches, we congratulate, he congratulated me, told me, good game. I shook his hand, good game, and we went our separate ways. But, we had a conversation Monday, talking about, just understanding how physical the game was and things like that. But it's a great thing, and it's a great thing, like for Kathy, being the owner of our team. She got bragging rights at the house now. It took us 7 games to do it, but we did it. So I feel like I hope she took advantage of that, laughing at Kevin every now and then for winning the game this week. But it's a great thing. One thing about Kevin owning the team, though, when nobody understand that, he let me do my own thing. It's never, hey, Dixie, you need to do this, you need to do that. Hey, Dixie, reach out to the community, try to do whatever I need to do to make this program successful. And that's the great thing, because, when you're the owner of something, you never want to, you want to always put your hand on it and keep your foot on it. But what Kevin does for the Sugar Skulls is he let me be the general manager. He let me be my own head coach. He let me do whatever I need to be successful. And I think that's why we're turning this ship around, getting the guys we need in and doing the right thing.
Dixie, good luck this weekend at Northern Arizona. We'll be rooting for you. Hopefully you can extend that winning streak to 4 games. And thanks so much for a few minutes here on the Huddle with Pat and myself today.
I appreciate it, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
All right.
That's Dixie Wooten here on the Huddle, the KGUN 9 streaming platform. I'm Jason Barr, joined by Pat Parris. Pat, I thought that was an interesting answer that he gave about when I asked him the question about, should it be called the Arena League, because that's the arena game. And he mentioned, well, there's also some bad things that went along with that league. So that was an interesting answer. I don't know if the average fan knows about that. All that is that deep in the weeds, but that was interesting. I'm glad he at least gave a definitive answer one way or the other.
I think the bottom line, though, Jason, is regardless of what the league is named, they need to get a national TV deal of some kind. Yeah. They had a little something with stadium streaming last year. They don't have it this year. I think it's great that they have a YouTube channel and every game is broadcast on the YouTube channel. Somehow, some way, they need to just elevate themselves a little bit more. The product is certainly better now than it was a couple of years ago, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with this league.
Yeah, I think a draft and a tournament could help as well. All right, so let's change gears now. Talk Suns. We got Game 5 tonight against the Mavericks in the Western Conference semifinals. The old saying, you've covered sports for many years. It's not a series until the road team wins a game, right? Road team hasn't won a game. They're still even up. I think you're going to see a much better performance from Chris Paul at home. Ever since he turned 37, we got the 2 bad games. We got the 7 turnovers in the first half. Then he fouls out. Then there's the incident in the stands, which we can get to as well. But I think you're going to, just because he turned 37, he just didn't all of a sudden fall off a cliff. I think you're going to see a much better performance from the Suns at home tonight. And I think it's going to come down to also, is Luka Doncic going to still get more help, from those other players? And Suns a 6-point favorite tonight at home in the Footprint Center.
I look for them to turn it around too, Jason. It's probably home court advantage has been huge in this series so far. There's still a long way to go, tied at 2. This is the game that the Suns should win, and they need to win, obviously, because you don't want to give away your home court advantage.
Winner of this game more than likely wins the series. It'd be
that's
tough
usually the way it goes, right?
If you're the Suns, it's very tough to lose this game, having lost 3 straight and then go into Dallas. And if you're the Mavericks, rarely does the home team lose Game 7. So statistically here, winner of this game is going to win the series.
And I think that the Suns cannot afford to go down 3-2, obviously. But I think the Suns need to not only find a way to get back on track and beat Dallas, I think they need to find a way and get back on track the way we saw them play earlier in the season. They haven't had a very good postseason so far, Jason. And I look back to those final 10 games of the regular season when the Suns did what you do. You have to do it. You give guys a lot of rest because they'd already clinched. They'd already clinched the top seed. They'd done all that. But they've just not looked like they've clicked like they were when they were, running off to this franchise record wins of 64. And so I really think they've got to find their way back to what we saw last year. They look more like the team right now. They look like the team that lost 4 straight last year to the Milwaukee Bucks in the championship series than they do the team that ran through the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and sure enough, we got another fan incident here involving Chris Paul's family in Dallas. It's just one after another with these fan incidents. I don't know what you want to chalk it up to, whether it's alcohol or whatever, or just more access to finding out all about these things that go on. But we were just talking a couple of weeks ago about the incident in Yankee Stadium. I don't know that this is on the same par as this, but it's still interaction between a fan and a player's family. So you hate to see that, and you hope you don't see any more of that in the rest of the series.
Yeah, and I would hope you won't either. And I think it definitely comes down to the security in Dallas needs to take care of that problem right away. The security in Phoenix needs to make sure that nothing happens to the family members of the Dallas Mavericks. You've really got to, you can't, kind of take a wait and see attitude. You've got to be ready with a lot of security because you can't let anything start to fester, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. All right. So, but the Suns and Mavericks, Game 5 tonight in the Western Conference Finals, and we thank Dixie Wooten for being part of the show here, and talked a little Tom Brady as well. Wow, 10 years is a long time. A little surprising, but hey, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for Tom Brady.
That's a contract you'd like to see just sign, right, Jason? 10 years, $375 million.
Incredible how
nice.
much the money has become to that.
It really has.
All right. So anyway, any final words? Anything you're working on? You're in the studio this week for K-Gun. How do you in the field?
I've got a story tonight. Some of the older viewers will remember Nina Trasoff, who was one of our main anchors at K-Gun in the late 70s and early 80s. And she was a city council person as well. And I've got a little story on her coming up tonight at 5 o'clock.
All right. Terrific. We'll look for that. All right. For Pat and everybody else here behind the scenes with the Huddle on K-Gun 9 streaming platforms, I'm Jason Barr. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back here next week at the same time. Take care, everybody.